Welcome to Gruesome Twosome Reviews. I'm Jay Gruesome.
And I'm Jay Putrid.
And today, as promised, we are going to be reviewing 2017's It. So, taking place in the town of Derry, Maine, a group of children called the Losers Club come together and defeat a mysterious entity that has tormented the town for centuries. So, we're going to go with our usual method of dealing with our reviews, and that's starting off with the cons of this movie.
And there's not that many. There's a few, but some of them are a little more nitpicky. I know I had some problems with some of the stuff that happens in this movie, but I feel it's a little more of like just a nitpick. Personally, it's just a personal preference.
Yeah.
But there are some. I mean, it was a really good movie, but I feel like there was some things that need to be addressed.
No movie is perfect, and we're always going to have cons, or even if it does go to nitpicking, which in this case I don't think we're exactly nitpicking, but it's just that we didn't really dislike a lot of things in this movie. We fully enjoyed the film. So, going on with, what we were saying with the cons, we felt that one thing that was kind of a thing that bothered us was the diffusion of horror elements by comedy after every terrifying moment within the film. So you get something that happens that's legitimately scary, and then you just have a joke right afterwards. And that would have been acceptable if it had happened maybe 2 times. Usually the comedy comes into play with the character Richie. And he's supposed to be the funny kid. I mean, I guess that makes sense. But after every horrifying moment, it just kind of got a little old.
You have these like genuinely terrifying moments, and then it's just followed up with a your mom joke or a dick joke.
It is. That's literally what the jokes are, and it's typical. They are teenagers. And teenagers are annoying as hell, and that's all they talk about, your mom and dick jokes.
Yeah.
So
and then I also get it too, because it's like Richie as a character, that's how he deals with stressful situations or stuff like that. But come on, when you have like a killer fucking clown, I don't think you're gonna make a joke. You're just like, the fuck was that? Like, goddamn, that was intense. That was fucking terrifying. You're not gonna be all like, oh man, that's just as scary as so-and-so's mom.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess it just got old for us, and we're 2 grumps anyway, and don't really like stuff like that in the first place. So maybe that's just, like, personal preference.
Yeah.
And personal distaste. But anyway.
It does play a part, though, I mean, because it is a horror film. You know, it should have some horror elements that remain terrifying, not
Instead
be
of
diffused with crude jokes.
Yeah, I completely agree. So moving on, some of the use of CGI was just an eyesore, because you get these really cool practical effects that are used within the movie, within most of the movie actually, which is one thing that we really praise. But then you have like this CGI that's just so out of place that you kind of wonder why they used that, why they went that route. And I understand, like the pairing of, we always say the pairing of CGI and practical effects always makes for really great effects.
Yes.
If used correctly. But some of the parts that bothered us were Stanley's scene where Pennywise is basically this woman from a painting that he's afraid of.
Yeah.
And in the first place, it does look really creepy. The painting itself is really eerie, and I would be terrified as a kid seeing that thing, especially like in a dark hallway or wherever he is, a dark room. And then you see that the woman is gone from the painting, and she's behind him. All you can see is this like shadowy figure, and that's enough to just make you really nervous. And then it shows the woman from the painting, and she's just this crazy CGI looking.
Yeah.
I don't know, it looks so 2007 to me, and I just really didn't like that.
That could have been done with practical effects and would look really awesome, and just, maybe some touch up with CG in order to just give it more of like a realistic appearance. Because, like we said, the pairing of both CG and practical effects does make a good combination when used correctly, and I feel like it could have been used very, very effective here, but it just kind of falls flat just because of how it was handled. And I agree, like the painting it's actually a pretty creepy painting. Like I can understand why a kid would get creeped out by this painting, especially being in like a room alone and it's all dim and you have this like horrifying painting. Like it makes sense, but the execution, I wasn't feeling it. I was just like, oh, well.
Yeah. And then you also had complaints about Pennywise and his head.
Yeah, that was the one thing that really I noticed and it bugged me, was the fact that it was almost like a fucking chicken. Like his whole body's moving, but you just see his head just still there, And
such a terrible but accurate comparison.
Yeah. But I kind of, because I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, well maybe, Pennywise is like this body that he takes, this shape that he takes form of. Maybe it's sort of like a marionette, because you do see at times where like he's over there just like excited or whatever, and you see one eye start kind of drifting off or whatever, because
creepy.
So it makes it feel like he's not in full control of this shape, just because he's so eager to like actually like eat these children or feed on their fears.
Yeah, and then he arrives as this terrible looking clown that's
just terrifying as fuck. Like so like, come down here. I got some candy. We all float. We got popcorn.
And his eyes going this
the
way.
Cotton candy.
Just goes further and further.
Come on. Drooling.
Yeah, salivating. It's just like, come on.
But yeah, so it's like, well, maybe it's like almost like a marionette in a way. But at the same time, it's just like, to me, it would have been more terrifying if he actually like was savage and actually like his head's actually moving, not just this thing that's just like, like I don't like that. Yeah, this like chicken thing. I don't like that. But I mean, I can ignore that. But that was something of mine. I was just like, yeah. I did not like it just as much as I do not like this helicopter that is passing by right now.
Yeah, it's really annoying. So hopefully it doesn't really hurt our video. But yeah, I think with the whole Pennywise and his head thing, that didn't particularly bother me, because like you said, it's just like this entity that's trying to keep this form, and it doesn't really know how to do it. But one thing that bothered me with the Pennywise head thing is the scenes where Pennywise runs at the kids and he's just like, ah! Like, it's so terrible. I had enough of that.
Where he does the whole little thing like that?
And no, it's just like his head shaking like Jacob's ladder status.
Yeah.
And I just didn't really enjoy that. I thought that was cheap. But I can't complain too much. So moving on. We were kind of bothered by the lack of development in some of the characters, particularly Stanley and Mike. And the other characters were so well developed that it kind of made you wonder why you didn't really get insight to either of these characters. You kind of saw like a little bit of what they were about and what they were afraid of course, because in this one, Pennywise appears to the children in different forms. So you get to see what they're afraid of, where Stanley has the painting, the woman from the painting, and Mike has some traumatic thing from his past happen. So it was kind of strange that they didn't really develop these characters, whereas instead of like having like a cheesy 80s-esque montage of them like cleaning up after Beverly's incident, they could have just developed those two characters a little bit more. And we
Yeah.
just wanted to see more of those characters, because obviously there is going to be a part 2, and as far as we're concerned, we don't really know either one of these characters very well. So that was really all I. And like the bullies too, they were actually developed a little bit more than these two people,
Yeah.
these two kids in the Losers Club. So it's just like, gives a crap about them. They're like sociopathic anyway. Um, Instead of like, the whole sympathy for the main bully, I think his name is Henry. Why not develop Mike a little bit more? Why not develop Stanley a little bit more? But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I agree. Like there was more of like a focus, like because they did have this montage, and I get it because it's like 80s, so it's basically
Yeah, it does take
like,
place in the 80s,
yeah,
and
it's supposed to be this like oh, this montage that like almost every 80s movie had, but it's like we don't need that. We didn't really need that. We don't need the development of like this like love triangle that goes on between Beverly, Bill, and uh who was it?
Ben.
Ben? Yeah. Yeah, we didn't really need that. Like we could have actually done without that and like had more of development with Mike and Eddie.
Yeah, there just could have been other things taken out in turn for developing Mike and Stanley a little bit more.
Especially Mike, just mainly because like he's literally an outsider. He is taught to stay outside, to not be a sheep, basically. So that could have been a lot more interesting. Also, with the whole thing with his parents tragically dying and stuff like that too, we could have got more insight. Instead, we got this cheesy montage because it's an 80s movie.
Yeah, and everyone's wanting to do the 80s throwback thing.
Yeah.
I want to say that it might have stemmed from Stranger Things, but there's a lot of things that do it now. The 80s have been popular for a while. It's not anything new. So I think it's just due to that, like catering to all ages of fans. So anyway, let's focus on the pros, things that we really liked about this movie.
Yeah.
Like we were saying earlier, we both fully enjoyed the movie, with the exception of like the things that we kind of nitpicked at. But yeah, let's jump into it. So the great thing about this movie is the acting of the children and the directorial aspect of being able to direct believable children. And bringing up Stranger Things again, I think we have Stranger Things to thank for that, because that's one of the things that people praised so much. Oh, it reminds me of the Goonies. Oh, it reminds me of Stand By Me. And this does the same thing. Like, you get these really believable teenagers, as annoying as they can be, but they're very believable.
Yeah.
I would pick them for, like, as real life teenagers, not these poorly written and poorly directed fictional teenagers that are just.
I think what it is now is that thanks to stuff like Stranger Things and other things too, they realize. I think writers now realize how to write kids or how to write teens, because for the longest time it was more along the lines of stereotyping. It's been, oh well, they're kids. I mean,
who cares about
who
them?
cares? Like, just as long as they move the story forward, that's pretty much it. Where now it's just like, no, the focus was on the kids. Like, it wasn't
the Losers Club.
like this movie wasn't focused on Pennywise. It wasn't focused just on the horror. Yes, those are important parts of this movie and of this story, but it was mainly the development of these like kids and their relationship with each other and the stuff they have to endure and the turmoil that kind of happens just because of this curse that has haunted like this little spot of Maine for centuries. So that was really good. I really liked a lot of the delivery of certain lines, the way these kids interacted with each other. It was believable that they were friends for like a long time, and then how like the new kids kind of come into their club. It was believable. It's like, oh well, we kind of don't know you, but you're cool. We like you.
Yeah, you're another outsider just like us.
But you watch their relationship with these kids that kind of were hanging out with each other for a while. You see that kind of develop too, and you see the relationship between all these kids just become strong. Like I believe like they were friends outside of this, outside of the movie.
Yeah, me too. It was really well done. So on to the next one. We really, with the exception of his weird moving head, we really enjoyed this interpretation of Pennywise,
Yes.
especially when the only recognized predecessor was Tim Curry's Pennywise. So, you can elaborate on that.
Well, Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise did a really amazing job. The design was actually very, very good. I really liked it because it wasn't trying to be like Tim Curry's Pennywise.
No.
It wasn't very colorful. It wasn't colorful, and it wasn't just very outlandish. It was its own thing. Like the colors were drained. I actually really liked the wardrobe that they chose for Pennywise. Just these old vintage just clothing that was just tattered and torn and just very like it really went well. And then also the makeup that they used on him, is very striking, and it had some hints of Tim Curry, but it wasn't a full-on just rip. It was just a different take with some nods here and there, like for example like the big head and the hair.
Yeah, exactly. And we do get like a little Easter egg in the movie where you do see a little
marionette clown that
Pennywise.
Looks
like Tim Curry's portrayal of Pennywise, so that's really cool. And another thing that I really liked about this Pennywise was that he was very believably evil. Whereas I would, use Tim Curry's Pennywise as the only comparison because that's all we really know, other than the book itself. Yeah. And neither of us have read the book. Sorry, guys. But you get Tim Curry's Pennywise where, like, he made a joke about, yeah, this is a dude that I would probably go to the bar with. Like, yeah. He would keep me entertained, whereas Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise is one of those dudes that you just want to avoid at all costs.
Yeah, that fool's, like, cruising around with, like, blacked out windows in a fucking sketch as fuck looking van
that says free hugs on the side.
It has like a fucking rainbow or some shit, like this poorly drawn rainbow.
Yeah, he just did it really quick, like, okay, gotta get these kids.
Hi there.
That is literally...
You want some popcorn? It's in the back. It's like, goddamn, get away from me, fucker.
Basically grabbing the kids by the arm. Yeah, and it's he's a more violent Pennywise as well. Yes, we get some kills in, like, the only other, adaptation that we know, I don't want
to say much. I'm pretty sure a good portion of people have actually seen it now, and I don't want to say much. But, fuck, did they pick, like, the most, like, innocent fucking child, like, to play Georgie, and I don't want to give too much away.
Let's just
but
say
I'll just say this
tragic end.
It's like the equivalent of, like, does the dog die in, like, a horror movie? You know?
And you're just like, Oh,
like,
they just did that.
no, and yeah, I'm just like, oh, fuck, I don't feel safe.
Yeah, and you can kind of imagine what what our overall feeling was for the rest of the movie, because that happens in the beginning.
Yeah.
That is the opening scene.
That literally sets the tone for the entire movie.
Georgie, I mean.
Bye
Poor
bye,
kid.
Georgie.
R.I.P. Poor kid.
He's all right now. Yeah, he's missing his left arm, so he's all right from now on.
Aww, that's so sad. All right, moving on. The updates, such as the variety of tactics Pennywise uses to terrify the kids, is so well done, and apparently from what I've read, because I did want to read into what was very reminiscent of the book, apparently they did get a lot of that right, so that's awesome. And just as a viewer not really knowing what they were going to do with that, and then kind of expecting Pennywise to be in every single scary moment of the movie, I was completely surprised.
Like, well, a TV miniseries, there, like, because it does deal with the book too. Like, you had like the Mummy and like I think like the Wolfman or something like that.
Yeah,
like
they changed those out for
stuff that's genuinely. Well, it's not that those things are. I get they're respectfully like scary, but they're not scary how they used to be back then. And the thing is, it's like
it does take place in the 50s in the book. So with an updated 80s version,
I feel like they play more on fears and actual what's supposed to represent fear.
Yeah, especially for the time period, because you could have easily thrown like, I don't know, Freddy Krueger, or some character that's reminiscent of Freddy.
Jason.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been just like a whole, thing for the 80s.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they didn't do that. And I'm really glad that they chose what they chose.
There's one scene in particular I do want to bring up, which is Ben in the library, and he goes down to like the basement area. That was genuinely creepy, just because it's like this literally headless fucking burnt corpse that's just walking around. Very unsettling. The body language of this thing is just very like unsettling. Yeah. And then you have like Pennywise that kind of comes up and all that, and it's like that's a really good effective scare, and I don't think that would work if you had like a Wolfman or a Mummy or Freddy or
I think
Jason
it would have come off as more campy than anything. But it is what it is. Apparently, I'm sorry, the character Eddie, who's the germaphobe, they did get his scare very
perfect.
Right. Yeah, it's
and it does have a nod to like the whole Mummy thing, because this character like kind of lumbering around and has like bandages on him,
or a zombie more so. Yeah. Basically he's attacked by a homeless leper.
Yeah.
And
just plagued with just like disease and like
so he's freaking out. He drops all of his I don't remember what he calls the placebos. Gazebos. He drops all of his gazebos and takes off and meets the clown version of Pennywise. So it's really menacing.
Which is actually a very well like executed scene. You just see him right there with these like balloons after being like chased by this like sore infested leper.
Yeah, so he's already terrified. And then Pennywise comes out of nowhere, and that dude's even worse, or just as bad.
Yeah.
So, it was really great. The update was really great. We've already mentioned several times the great use of practical effects in this movie. So I don't think we really have to elaborate any more on that.
What I do want to say, though, is when it comes to, like, the CGI work, because I am not a complete hater of CGI.
No, neither am I.
I think it worked really well towards the end, where Beverly sees Pennywise deadlights. It is fucking amazing. I love that. I was just like, fuck, when they showed like Pennywise's like teeth just like multiply and his like mouth just like expand. It's like, okay, that is fucking awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It's really crazy looking too. And then it just gives more depth to Pennywise because, going back to Tim Curry's Pennywise, you just see him as a clown most of the time. And
Yeah.
with this Pennywise, they did a really great job of
Showing that there's
showing-
more behind.
yeah,
the
that
clown
he's
facade.
not a clown. He just takes that form sometimes, or he takes the form of the leper, or anything, anything to scare the living daylights out of these kids.
But
So-
the scene with Beverly being shown Pennywise's deadlights, for some reason, reminded me of Brain Damage with Elmer, like when he just opens his mouth. See, it's like that kind of can't work practically, so it did make sense. But the CGI was like, it worked really well. Like, it worked well in that, for the favor of like that scene, and I feel like it was really well executed, and it was some good CGI work. It's not the greatest, but it's good,
Yeah, exactly. And then lastly, one of the most important things, when it comes to horror, are there scary moments? Definitely.
Yeah.
We watch horror all the time, and there were still scenes in this movie where we were both just really quiet. We do have a tendency of talking through movies, whether it be at home or in the theater, but we are those people, but we actually keep it, respectable.
Yeah. We're not gonna say some dumb shit.
Yeah, exactly. I just got a flashback.
Yeah.
Bye,
we
Felicia.
actually, yeah.
Oh, no.
We had an incident when we watched Alien Covenant in the theater, and we had this very loud fucking woman there, and the scene where the xenomorph just gets sucked out of the airlock, all you hear is "Bye, Felicia," and a collective fucking groan from the entire audience in that theater because they were not having it.
She's just sitting there like, shit. You all need to lighten up. It's like, no, you're ruining.
You need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you need to leave, ma'am. Yeah, so, yes, there were legitimately scary scenes. It was a really thrilling movie, and it was overall just entertaining, even if you don't find it scary. It's just a really good modern film.
Yeah, it's a really good modern horror film, and it's not focused just on horror. It's literally the development and the relationship of these characters who have to band together in order to fight this fucking evil fucking entity.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really well executed, and I feel like it is getting, the praise that it does deserve. Maybe it should be blown out of the water because it's not like the best movie ever. It's not the Citizen Kane of horror, but it's a damn good movie, especially coming out this year. We didn't really have that many good horror movies this year. Most of them that did come out, this year were actually made in like around the circuits for like the past 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I think The Void comes into mind when I think of movies like that.
That we actually watched this year and enjoyed. But you're not going to see movies like The Void in,
theaters in a wide release like this, which is a shame because it probably could.
I agree.
Done really well.
So, we always end our videos with the question, would you watch it again?
Not only would I watch it again, and I would love to watch it in theaters, but I would also do two things. If, let's say, there was like a Fathom Events where they showed this one and then the next installment of this that's going to be coming out in, I think, 2019 or 2018, something like that.
I'm not sure.
Not quite sure. But I would actually do a double feature back to back. Like, I would literally request time off of work to watch this. And not only that, but I would actually buy it, but I would wait until the second one gets released. Maybe there's like a cool box set or something like that. I would like that. That would be a good idea. But I would actually like to have that. So yeah, I would not only watch it again, but I would also like to see, some cool stuff happen with this, especially with the sequel coming out, hopefully, within a year or two.
Yeah.
So, would you watch it again?
Heck yeah. I really enjoyed this movie. I feel like it's not only the best movie that we've seen in theaters this year. I mean, Alien Covenant came close, but I think Alien Covenant had a little bit more flaws where it's like, I'm not really digging this the second time around.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel with it, I could actually get a little bit more with multiple viewings.
Yeah.
And definitely it's one of those movies that I want people to go out and watch. I want people to go and buy this movie because it's great. This is something that you should have in your collection, especially if you're a fan of just killer clowns.
Yeah.
Just, really cool movies, or, maybe even
or if you're a fan of the book, too.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the book, go check it out. Also, if you have read the book, go ahead and put in the comments below what you found as far as like similarities and then differences, because we don't know. We're just going off of what we saw and we really enjoyed it. So if you liked it, if you disliked it, even if you haven't read the book, go ahead and put your opinion below, and I think that's basically a wrap for us.
Yep.
So until next time.
See you later.